Welcome again to Eye on the Tigers News. I'm Kennedy Lamb.
And I'm Andrea Ross. We're glad you decided to join us. Here's a look at the news we're following for you. The United States brutalized scores of terrorist suspects with interrogation tactics that turned secret CIA prisons into chambers of suffering and did nothing to make America safer after the 9/11 attacks, Senate investigators concluded Tuesday. The Senate Intelligence Committee torture report, years in the making, accused the CIA of misleading its political masters about what it was doing with its black site captives and deceiving the nation about the effectiveness of its techniques. The report was the first public accounting of tactics employed after the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, and it is described far harsher actions had been widely known. Embassies and American installations are under heightened security as fears of retaliation from al-Qaeda groups increase.
On Thursday, CIA Director John Brennan threaded a rhetorical needle in an unprecedented televised news conference at CIA headquarters, acknowledging that agency officers did abhorrent things to detainees, but defending the overall post-9/11 interrogation program for stopping attacks and saving lives. At the heart of Brennan's case is a finely tuned argument that while today's CIA takes no position on whether the brutal interrogation tactics themselves led detainees to cooperate, there is no doubt that detainees subjected to the treatment offered useful and valuable information afterward.
Swapping crisis for compromise, the House nearly approved $1.1 trillion in government-wide spending Thursday night, after President Barack Obama and Republicans joined forces to override Democratic complaints that the bill would also ease bank regulations imposed after the economy's near collapse in 2008. The 219-206 vote cleared the way for a final showdown in the Senate on the bill, the last major measure of a two-year Congress far better known for gridlock than for bipartisan achievement.
A gathering of black congressional staffers and other Capitol employees stood silently on the House steps Thursday and raised their hands in the air to protest the killing of unarmed black men by police. They bowed their heads as Senate Chaplain Barry C. Black prayed, quote, "Forgive us when we have failed to lift our voices for those who couldn't speak or breathe for themselves," unquote, emphasizing breathe in reference to Eric Gardner, who died after a policeman grabbed him in a chokehold in New York.
Plummeting oil prices may add a little jingle in the pockets of holiday shoppers and travelers, but are raising financial worries in some states, including New York, that have been tapping into surging oil tax revenues to pay for road and other government services. With oil prices now around a 5-year low, budget officials in about a half-dozen states have already begun preparing back projects for a continued gusher of revenues. Spending cuts have started in some places, and more could be necessary if oil prices stay at lower levels.
Speaking of gas prices, a national survey reveals the average price of regular gasoline has plunged another 12 cents a gallon over the past 2 weeks to $2.72. Industry analysts are saying the decline continues a nationwide trend. Lower crude oil prices are continuing to drive prices down, along with an abundant oil supply and the rising value of the U.S. dollar. The highest priced gas in the lower 48 states was found in San Francisco at $3.04 a gallon. The lowest was in Albuquerque at $2.38 a gallon. Locally, prices are just below $2.90, making some young drivers very pleased.
The Big Mac is becoming a victim of finicky tastes. As sales continue to slide in the U.S., McDonald's plans to expand a test that lets people build their own burgers by tapping on a touchscreen to pick the bread, cheese, and toppings they want. The company says it will bring the option to 2,000 of its 14,000 U.S. locations next year. The Create Your Taste program is a departure from McDonald's, which was built to deliver food consistently, quickly, and affordably. That model has come under pressure as people gravitate towards places like Chipotle, which lets people pick what goes on their bowls and burritos as they walk down a line. According to industry executives and analysts, the ability to customize food orders is becoming more important, particularly among people in their 20s and 30s.
The winter storm is over and some quiet weather is on the way. With the forecast details, here's Shannon Corey.
Well, after a couple of days of persistent snows, we're due a little break, and that's what we're going to get for at least the weekend. Temperatures will remain pretty steady for the weekend. Highs will approach 40, and lows will be just below freezing. We'll have mostly cloudy skies for both Saturday and Sunday before we see some precipitation enter the region for Tuesday. Our next change of snow won't be until Wednesday, but nothing too significant. So in summary, we can expect our weather to calm down a little for the next few days or so.
With a look at sports, here's Abby Garrett. The first college football playoff expanded the national championship race, made the regular season even more intriguing, and produced a Final Four with major star power. Nick Saban's number 1 Alabama Crimson tied versus Urban Meyer's number 4 Ohio State Buckeyes at the Sugar Bowl. Marcus Mariota, this season's Heisman Trophy frontrunner, and second-seeded Oregon versus Jameis Winston, last season's Heisman Trophy winner, and defending national champion Florida State at the Rose Bowl. Those games will take place on New Year's Day. The winners will meet on January 12th in Arlington, Texas, at the home of the Dallas Cowboys. Staying with college football, Oregon quarterback Marcus Mariota, Alabama receiver Amari Cooper, and record-breaking Wisconsin running back Melvin Gordon are set to make the trip to New York for the Heisman presentation on Saturday. Mariota is considered the front runner to win the 80th Heisman on Saturday night in New York. He would become the first Oregon player to earn college football's most famous player of the year trophy. Last year's winner, Florida State's Jameis Winston, was not named a finalist. And we had to share this story with you. Minnesota's Climax Fisher High School girls basketball team packed a whole lot into their 62-58 victory over Bagley High School earlier this week. The win ended the school's 84-game losing streak. They hadn't won a game in more than 4 years. Climax Fisher only dressed 8 players for the game, and 5 of them fouled out before the team won in overtime, meaning they finished the game playing 3 against 5. Closer to home, Mexico's wrestling team travels to Rochester for a tournament. The boys' swim team travels to Oswego. And finally, the Mexico boys' team is home this Friday against Oswego. Here's a preview of the team.
They're a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, a little bit bigger, and a little bit faster. Because of this, there's a lot more hope surrounding this year's boys' basketball team. Last year's varsity team finished with 4-14 overall record and a 3-7 division record. Coach Paul Callahan is aware of these statistics, but is very optimistic about this year's team.
Experience this year, so I'm hoping that pays off for us. We're going to play a lot of people probably at this point in time, so hopefully somebody's going to step up and we'll win a few more games than we did last year.
Some of the players that Coach Callahan is looking to are seniors Justin Marsden and Jacob Cleveland, 2 of the top scorers from last year's team. Both players realize the work that is ahead of them and are ready for the challenge.
We're hoping to get a lot, though. We got a lot of work to do, and if that work falls through, then we have a chance to go to sectionals.
Basically, as a team, we gotta box out, we gotta crash the boards, get every rebound we possibly can, and stick to the team, and just don't give up, really. Just have fun with it.
The Tigers' notorious defense may have to make some changes this year due to new statewide rules being implemented for high school teams. This may call for a new strategy for the team.
I don't know. I don't think you're going to see that much more from many teams, only because they changed the rules this year. As soon as you put your hand on a player, it's a foul. So that takes away from a lot of the aggressiveness, and it technically is supposed to try and clean the game up. But I don't know, we had a scrimmage the other night that went pretty well. I think what you're going to see is a lot of teams playing zone instead of man-to-man. And maybe that's true in our case, I'm not positive, but you're going to see a lot of foul shots that people are putting. If they're going to call, they really are going to call that foul. It's going to be interesting the first couple games, to say the least.
There will likely be a variety of different players on the court this year. Coach Callahan hopes to have a deeper team so he can give some of his players a breather and still be competitive.
Well, I'm hoping that we shoot the ball pretty well, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we have some depth, that we can play a lot of kids, and that we can put some pressure on people and maintain a level of, as you said, tenacity over 4 quarters. So hopefully guys won't be getting tired and I can sub in and give everybody a rest. And, hopefully that'll pay off for us.
For Eye on the Tigers, I'm Shannon Corey.
Let's bring in Alyssa Greco, who has our calendar covered.
Today marks the end of the 5-week marking period for this second quarter. Reports will be out a week later. Also on Friday, the boys basketball team gets back on the court after a couple of postponed games when they host Oswego. Tip time is scheduled for 6:30. And finally, seniors are reminded that the ACT exam will be given here Saturday morning. Also make one note that the financial aid night has been rescheduled for next Wednesday, December 17th, starting at 6 at the high school.
And finally today, we have Callie Corey with a look at this day in history.
On this day, in 1787, Pennsylvania became the second state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. In 1914, the New York Stock Exchange reopened for the first time since July 30th. The market had shut down when World War I broke out. In 1998, the House Judiciary Committee approved a fourth article of impeachment against the President Bill Clinton and submitted the case to the full House. In 2000, a divided U.S. Supreme Court halted the presidential recount in Florida, effectively making Republican George W. Bush the winner.
That's all for us. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again. I'm Kennedy Lamb.
And I'm Andrea Ross. For the staff of Eye on the Tigers News, we hope you have a great day.